a problem that you see all over. Scammers are selling property that's not theirs. They're actually working on trying to get your title, and it happens in a lot of ways. They're impersonating the rightful owner of the property, and they even have fake driver's license. They also file fraudulent deed transfers with probate offices, and they actually transfer the property to a company that they control. This property is real. Then they list the property with a real estate agent or online markets, and sometimes sell them for lower prices. And their goal is to turn the property as quickly as they can. They use the remote process for this to happen, so they don't have to show up in person. Many times what they're trying to do is to sell this very quickly before anyone gets caught at it. There are several targets. One, and I'll give you an idea of this: vacant property, second homes, property of those that are deceased. A lot of times it may be even your mortgage. Well, your home that doesn't have a mortgage, there's not another person or lien holder on it, or farmland that's been in generational for years. Now you ask, has this happened in the state of Alabama? Yes, it's happened, and it's happened many times. Representative Fiddler has a story to tell about about an episode that happened. My board chair at my work told me, he's an attorney, last month he had 2 of these to try to happen, and they actually stopped it, but it cost them, I mean, they had to backtrack and do a lot of back work to do that. Now today, I mean, it's a complicated bill, and it's been a busy 4 or 5 days for me, and I'll tell you, I'm not ready, nor is the bill ready, because there's a lot of people that are affected here, and we've got a lot of people that are working on it. I'll give you an idea who's working on it: the Realtors Association, Bankers Association, Bar Association, Land Title Association, Security Commission, Probate Judges, and the County Commission Association. So there's a lot of entities. The end goal is to prevent it. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to get there. Today, I just wanted to bring it in front of you to let you know it's coming, and we're working trying to get the bugs out before it ever gets to you. I'm going to carry this bill over, but I wanted you to know the problem we're having, and we're trying to address that.
Well, what we'll do is, this is going to be some amendments to that bill. We're going to just carry it over and
yes, sir,
talk about it next time. Yes. Well, if it's dealing with that particular bill.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the details.
Go ahead.
Representative Lee, I was just going to ask you, is this going to be totally, it looks like it's an amendment to various sections of the law, and it's not, but it is, the beginning seems to indicate that it's adding completely new law. And I was going to ask you that before next week.
We're working on to simplify it as much as we can, and to get everyone where they're on the same page, and also that everyone here and on the floor can understand it in a manner that we can make something happen. I know every person on that floor, every person on this committee wants to put up as much many roadblocks as we can for this to happen, because this doesn't pick party. This doesn't pick where you live or anything. If they see an opportunity, they're going to take advantage of it.
Okay, the bill's carried over.
Thank you.
SB 70, Senator Gavan. And I think there's an amendment on your...
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what this bill does is basically, if someone is a child predator, is out there communicating with a child, many times a police officer might step in and continue the communication. And what this says, so what the bill was originally designed to do was to say if the person thinks they're communicating with a child. Now, a lot of times when we get a bill, sometimes, we look at it and we go, well, we got another issue here, and that's not captured in this. And so Representative Robbins and I have been talking about it, and this way artificial intelligence has been going on doing some of these deep fakes, whatever you want to call them, is an issue. So I think he does have a amendment.
We're going to go ahead and get the amendment first. Can you explain the amendment?
Yeah, the amendment basically replaces line 33 through 34 on page 2. It strikes out actual or simulated nudity, sexual conduct, or sadomasochistic abuse. Talked with LSA and with Senator Gavan and weren't sure if simulated nudity included AI-generated nudity, and so we matched the definition of what we'd used on different code sections about transmittal of AI-generated content, and we changed it to sexually explicit conduct as defined in Section 13A 12-190, which includes all of those that have been marked out, but also includes the virtually indistinguishable depiction, and then we define what virtually indistinguishable depiction means. So if you're doing deep fakes, AI-generated images, and you're sending that to a minor or someone you believe to be a minor, that would still be a crime.
Is there any questions or comments about the amendment? We have a motion to adopt the amendment.
I make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Faulkner. All in favor of adopting the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill is amended. We're now on the bill as amended. Is there any questions or comments about the bill as amended? There's a motion to give the bill a favorable report. Second. All in favor of giving the bill as amended a favorable report, say aye.
Aye.
Bill gets a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
And I think we have SB 173, Senator Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is basically protection from abuse orders that are issued by a circuit court or a district court. If the violation of that occurs in a municipality, then because it's a misdemeanor, the municipal court it always goes there. Well, the municipal court don't understand what's going on in the circuit court or district court. Most of them don't have aliquot. They don't know if the person's been served. They don't know what's happened in it, and it creates a lot of confusion and problems. And what this does, if it's issued by a circuit court or district court, the violation goes to the district court in the courthouse where it's issued, and it just clarifies that and basically keeps the municipal courts dealing with the municipal court business and not having to try to figure out and run down in those cases, but also does away with liability because the municipal courts don't know what's going on in the circuit or district, so it just kind of simplifies that process. And there's an amendment also.
Who has got the amendment?
I've got the amendment.
Would you explain the amendment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The amendment replaces line 34 on page 2 with the following. Paren D, paren 1, except for violations of this section that are. Then it replaces line 41 on page 2 with the following. Paren 2, except for violations of this section that are. And then it replaces line 46 on page 2 with the following. Transferred to the district court, period, paren 3, this subsection shall not apply to violations arising from domestic violence protection order issued by a municipal court.
Is there any questions or comments about the amendment? There's a motion to adopt the amendment. Is there a second? All in favor to give the bill to adopt the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
And the amendment is adopted. At this point, we've got a bill as amended. Is there any questions, comments about the bill as amended? Representative Brainerd.
Senator, I just want to thank you for bringing this bill as a municipal court judge as well. We see this as a problem. And you're right, when you can't participate with aliquot, you don't know what's going on with that case. You don't know what else might be going on. So I appreciate you bringing this, and that brings another issue that we might need to get into that arose last year as well, about some way to get our municipal courts communicating with
Amen.
The circuit and district courts in Alabama.
Thank you. Thank you.
First, is any other questions or comments? Okay. The bill's before us as amended. There's a motion and a second to give the bill a favorable report. Say aye. Aye. All opposed? Bill gets a favorable report.
Thank you.
Senator Spetherman, SB 239.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee. It's good to be here. I'm here on, as you said, SB 239, and it's a companion bill with HB 281, Mr. Chairman, Judge Hill's bill. So it's the same identical bill, you know, and if necessary, I'll provide additional facts if about the bill if necessary. I have them here. I don't mind.
Mr. Chairman?
I think Representative England had a question. Okay. Representative Faulkner.
I'd move to give this bill a favorable report from the fine and distinguished senator from my area.
Second, Stillman. All in favor to give the bill a favorable report, say aye. Opposed? Bill gets a favorable report.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank each and every one of y'all, and I also thank my illustrious representative in Senate District 18.
I want you to notice how we treat senators. We try to get them in and out.
You do, and I appreciate that. I'm going to run on up to tourism. Thank you very much. Thank y'all.
We're on HB 148. Representative Paschal. HB 148, Representative Paschal.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, thank you for the opportunity to present HB 148. It's a constitutional amendment. It's reaffirming a liberty interest recognized for more than 100 years, the fundamental rights of each parent to direct the education, upbringing, care, custody, and control of his or her child. HB 148 is substantially identical to HB 6 from 2023, enacted as Act 2023-555, which this legislature. The only change are two words, which refines and clarify and mirrors our Supreme Court rulings. As mentioned, for more than 100 years, the United States Supreme Court has affirmed this fundamental right, and also the Alabama Supreme Court in Ex parte ERG has done the same. Our state chief legal officer, Steve Marshall, has echoed this principle when he stated, since the founding of our nation, we have realized the fundamental right of parents to direct the care, custody, and education of their children. So HB 148, it does not change domestic relations law, does not change custody standards, it does not change child protection authority. It simply secures at the constitutional level a fundamental liberty our courts have recognized for generations, and each member, you should have in your package a copy of just Q&As. I know several members had questions yesterday, and at that time, Mr. Chairman, I will be more than happy to answer any questions of this committee.
We're going to recognize Representative Robbins first. You had a question.
I had just a technical question. I probably have some other questions too, but on line 34, it says the Constitution of Alabama of 2022, and then it says on 58, 2022, and 65 of 2022. I just didn't know if there was a reason that it says 2022 when we're in 2026, if that's a typo, or do we need to, because this was written, I think, previously, and did that not get updated? So do you know why it says 2022, and does that need to be changed?
Yes, I do know why, and no, we do not need to be changed. You're just stating that Alabama, we have one of the newest constitutions in our country, which is the Constitution of Alabama 2022. So it's just referring to our state constitution and the date that we updated that, which was 2022.
Right, but we've updated the Constitution since 2022 because we do it every year with constitutional amendments. So I'll probably get with LSA and just check if that's correct. And then if so, we might have to do, maybe it's right, maybe it's not, I don't know. Okay. But I just saw that and was wondering.
Okay.
Okay. Representative Faulkner.
Representative Paschal, we spoke yesterday.
Yeah.
And, I worked with you when you had the bill before and you were very gracious. You brought me that bill yesterday, and you and I looked at them, and I pointed out some differences. And I do not claim to be a constitutional expert, and I don't claim to be a custody parental rights expert. But I pointed out to you the differences in language between the bill last time and this CA. that I think are going to cause issues for you and for the bill. Having said that, again, I'm not saying I'm right and I know everything about this. I don't. But I do see differences in the language between what is here and what was on the bill you had before. And so because of that, I feel like this ought to go to the civil subcommittee and we examine those things. I know there was somebody you wanted me to talk to, but I just think this needs, those changes in wording is going to create some problems and concerns for people. And so that would be my recommendation, is that we send it to the civil subcommittee, but I'm just one voice up here, but I just, I'm your friend, and I appreciated you bringing that to me yesterday. So that's would be my comments.
Okay, if it's Mr. Chairman, if I respond?
Yes.
Okay. Well, no, yes, we definitely friends there. And I was trying to approach every member yesterday in the chamber, just kind of give everybody a heads up first. Thank you for your vote in 2023. And the goal was in 2023 to codify this into state law. And then now the goal is enshrine this into our state constitution. The reason why, every law we make, we could change in Alabama. But there's certain things you never ever want to change. So the fundamental rights, we never want to change that. We want to enshrine that. So the two changes that you referred to is the word custody and the word each. In 2023, the language was to direct, parents have fundamental rights to direct the child's upbringing, education, care, and control. We inserted, the constitutional-minded experts I work with, they insert the word custody. Why? Our Supreme Court has said that at the U.S. Supreme Court and Alabama State Supreme Court. So if you're going to insert stuff in if you're going to update our Constitution, it should be accurately reflect that. And the word each parent, once again, that's just a high level as far as inserting the language into our Constitution. We can say of their parents, but the word each is stating that this fundamental right is not based on your joint relationship with each other. And going back, just to clarify the word custody, the Constitution experts out there have stated for over 100 years, when there's a dispute between parents and the government, the standard for custody is dealing with the parents and the government. And that's why in the bill it says you cannot infringe upon that unless you have a government compelling interest. And then if you do, you must apply the strict scrutiny standard. The word custody in family law, which this doesn't apply to, the constitutional mind and our Supreme Court's judges, they know that this doesn't impact child custody because the standard is best interest of the child. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I understand we have one member who would like to place the bill in the subcommittee, and if it's will of his body, so be it, but I would actually love to entertain any other questions that members may have.
If I may respond.
Well, before we do that, I think Representative, you're right.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's actually changed up the language a little bit more. I think the notable changes you have pointed out to, but instead of saying parents have the right to direct the upbringing of their children, you've said each parent, and then you've inserted the word custody, which does to me make a difference in the way that is worded and interpreted. And then it's also changed up in the order, the way the paragraphs were from the previous bill. And then, of course, as you said, the constitutional amendment leaves out those other provisions that were in your original bill that said this shall not be interpreted to apply in these situations. I'm not trying to kill your bill. I think those differences in language are important and significant. I think they will be to people. And that's why I was sending a sick, but that's all I have said. Thank you.
Okay. Before we address that, I'm Representative Robbins.
No, I was going to kind of, I guess, join in with what Representative Faulkner said, and he touched on where by saying each parent, it implies that each parent has a fundamental right. And then with A, it talks about each parent with the right. B, it says the government may not burden the fundamental right of a parent to direct the education, and it goes into that. But as a constitutional amendment, it doesn't provide anything it doesn't provide anything on if a parent has their parental rights terminated or if they are not fit parents. And so that would be a concern that I'd have, that just because you've had your rights terminated, you'd still have that, according to our Constitution, would you still have a fundamental right to make a decision on the health, wellness, and education of your child? Because the Constitution would trump a judge's order, in my mind. I'm just not sure if we need to add something into this CA about if you've had your rights terminated or you do not have custody of the child. So I would agree with what Representative Faulkner said, that it might be best to move this to a subcommittee.
Representative Brainerd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Paschal, as you know, I primarily practice in domestic relations.
Yes.
And I probably shouldn't say this. I probably should hope this gets passed because it would create a nightmare in the domestic world, in my opinion. Every non-custodial parent is going to wave this around and try to go and say, I'm taking this child from this school, I'm going to put him over here in this school. It's a little better. I have a constitutional right in the state of Alabama to direct the custody or direct the education of my child. And both of them are going to be doing that, and it's going to create a nightmare. So I think there's a lot of work that would need to be done on this to accomplish what you're wanting to accomplish. As it stands now, it would create a lot of trouble, which could be profitable, but it's not good for that kind of trouble to be occurring in our state.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go ahead.
Sound like I'll be humble and nice here, but sound like we do. I'm okay with putting the bill in this, at the will of the committee. But if the bill do go into subcommittee, I think it would be more or less of an educational opportunity for me, because since 2023 and since 1927, this has existed, and no one has bum rushed our court systems, our school systems. And that's why I waited for 3 years from 2023 to come with the Constitutional Amendment. The bill we passed in 2023, the family courts haven't been overloaded because the average legal mind know that this applies when there's a dispute between parents and the government, not parent versus parent. But whatever the will of the body is, I'm okay with it.
Any other questions? Representative Tillman.
And Mr. Chair, I understand what Representative Paschal is, attempting to do with the legislation, but I agree with the committee members. So with that said, I motion that we put this in the subcommittee.
Is there a second given to the subcommittee? The bill is going to a civil subcommittee, and that will be Faulkner as the chairman, Brainerd, Chestnut, McCamey, Pettis, Robbins, and Robertson would be in that bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. HB 405, Bracy. Representative Bracy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the members of the committee. This is a very simple bill. HB 405 is a very simple bill. It's a bail jumping bill that was brought to me by our sheriff in Mobile County. What's happening is people, they have these electronic monitors, and once they violate the electronic monitor and go outside of the area where they're supposed to be, it's nothing that can really be done until they go back through the court system. And what this bill would allow to happen is for the sheriff's office, who's handling the electronic monitoring in Mobile County, to be able to actually go out and pick these people up instead of waiting to go through the court system. And so in the past, we've had someone that went out with this electronic monitoring, and they actually committed a murder, and they knew that they were outside of the lines, but it wasn't anything they could really do at the moment. So this is giving them that opportunity. Now, it also helps the person. So if a person has an emergency situation and they had to go outside of the area, then they are able to justify why they were outside of those areas.
See any other questions? Okay. I think Representative Springer.
Yeah, I was going to thank you for bringing this. This is a much-needed fix and correction in Mobile County, and appreciate it. Will help kind of close this loophole or gap that we've got dealing with that. At the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion to give it a favorable report.
Thank you.
Representative McCanny, second. Is second. All in favor of giving HB 405 a favorable report, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Bill gets a favorable report. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
HB 414, Easterbrook. At the last hearing, we had a public hearing on this with 4 people opposing it. And I think, Representative Easterbrook, you'd asked me, you wanted to be able to speak.
Yes.
Some information on the bill, and I'm going to give you that opportunity.
Let me start off with how we got here. I was born and raised in Washington County, on the west side of the county. The east side is the Tombigbee River. I was 29 years old when I saw my first wild hog track on the west side of Washington County. Wild hogs stayed in the major river swamps. The food source was plentiful, and that's their favorite habitat. 35 years ago, Texas decided that they were going to stop the transportation of wild hogs because they got on a golf course and tore a golf course up. 5 years later, Alabama adopted the same rule, and Mississippi and the states around us. The pig population has exploded in the last 30 years. There's an estimated 250,000 wild pigs in the state of Alabama right now. And with 250,000, they will breed at 6 months of age, have 2.5 litters a year. That means between 1.5 and 2 million pigs will be born this year in Alabama alone. The numbers are incredible. There's a lot of research money tied to controlling the pigs. So a lot of the organizations, they don't want to control the pigs. They want to keep the research money coming. But the state of Texas 2 years ago decided they have an estimated 800,000, because you can imagine how many is being born every year. They decided, wait a minute, we messed up. They finally admitted it. We messed up. They've changed their law back where you can transport them. They're transporting them to stockyards. They're transporting them to pens and put a pen behind the barn, put them in, fatten them up, and butcher them. The only way to get rid of wild hogs is to put a value on their head. If you transport one to the stockyard, you're getting about $150 a head for them. You'll have professional trappers that trap them for a living. We did prior to them changing the law that people that live right up and down the Tombigbee River, we had families that made a living trapping wild hogs, and they made a good living. They can make a killing now. If they trap 2 million of them in a year at $150 a head, that's a lot of money. And the state is spending all kind of money on traps for these weekend warriors. They go out there and set that trap one time, figure out that's a lot of work, especially when they have to go out there in July and it's hot and there's 10 pigs in there. Do you think that they're going to shoot 10 pigs and drag them off? They might one time. That pen goes behind the barn somewhere and it doesn't come out again because it's work. They got all the fun out of it the first time. So the population right now is about 250,000. As I said, between 1.5 and 2 million pigs will be born this year. What I'm talking about doing is being able to capture them, take them to the stockyard and sell them, or put them in a pen in the backyard, fatten them up and butcher them at your leisure. There's a lot of poor people in rural Alabama that used to do this regularly. I mean, that's what they did. And they come up here with the scare taxes and they told you that, well, wild pigs carry disease. They do. They carry tuberculosis, brucellosis, and rabies, the same disease that domestic pigs carry. We're butchering probably 500,000 wild pigs every year in the state of Alabama. Have you ever heard of anybody catching tuberculosis or brucellosis or rabies from a wild pig? Not one. Cattle carry disease. All of them get tested at the stockyard for disease. All domestic pigs get tested at the stockyard for disease. So would the wild pigs. My guess is they carry less wild disease than the domesticated ones because they're not jammed up in those little pens so close together. Another guy got up here and said, we want to poison them. They've been saying that for 30 years. The EPA won't release them to use the only poison they know of that will kill them. So he wants us to do a joint resolution to send to the EPA. Well, Texas did a joint resolution years ago. So did Louisiana. So did Mississippi. We're the only ones I know of that haven't done it, but they still are not allowed to poison them. Well, I think it was nitrous oxide, because it'll kill anything that eats it. So at the rate that we're going, we will have so many pigs, they're gonna be in your subdivisions rooting up your flower beds soon, and very soon. It's with 1.5 to 2 million born every year. That number grows every year. 3 years from now, you'll be talking about 3 to 5 million born every year. We've got them now in places we've never had them. It's because they depleted the food source in the major river swamps. That's their preferred area, and that's where they would like to be. But once they deplete the food source, the hogs are not stupid. They move out to find food. Soil and water, I tried to pass this bill 6 years ago. Soil and water came in, and they were opposed to it, but said they had actually hired a professional trapper to trap one watershed. He trapped 6,500 in a year. And then they stopped. One trapper trapped 6,500 in a year. What if you had 300 trappers doing that in your major watersheds? You would eliminate the hogs, the overpopulation of them, and they'd go back to your major river swamps, and you wouldn't hear all this about hogs. 200 trappers trapping 50 per night is $3.5 million in a year. And they would get paid not by our tax dollars, which is what they're getting paid now. Some of these weekend warriors, they pay them so much to trap hogs. Well, they don't pay them per head caught, they pay them to trap hogs. So they're not catching that many of them. The thing that aggravates me the most is you hear all these people that are against it, but not one damn one of them has a solution to it. They don't even offer you a solution. The problem is growing steadily and getting worse by the year, and all they can do is say no. And you look at Texas, and Texas is now saying, after 2 years of allowing the transportation and butcher of wild hogs, that the number's finally coming down. Lo and behold, government got in the way and screwed something else up. But I wouldn't be nearly as opposed to the stuff that they're saying if they had a solution to it. Auburn's been going to develop a drug to make them sterile for 30 years. I've heard that stuff. And we still don't have it, and Auburn's still getting paid to research the drug.
I think we've got Representative McKinney had a question.
Thank you. I have a question, or maybe you can clarify this for me. You've been telling us about how the wild pigs basically are going to invade our homes and plant beds and all of this. But I'm looking at the piece of legislation here, and this is talking about transportation.
Yes.
So what does them invading our homes and needing to trap and all of that have to do with the bill that you're presenting, which is strictly talking about removing the portion of transporting live feral swine? I didn't hear much about transportation and why we need to let you transport it than I did about the pigs about to invade our homes.
They, when they stopped the transportation, you had the people that were trapping them for a living. They stopped trapping them because it's against the law to transport them. And the people that lived in rural Alabama would go over in the river swamp and set a trap and catch 8 or 10 of them, put them in the, transport them to the house and put them in a pen in the backyard, fatten them up and butcher them at your leisure. That stopped because it's illegal now to do that. So it's the stopping of the transportation is what caused the population to explode. You can no longer transport them to a stockyard. You can no longer transport them and put them in a pen. So the reason for catching them has gone way down. Basically, you're putting a bounty on their head of $100 to $150 a piece for a wild hog at the stockyard that the state doesn't pay a dime on.
Representative England.
So basically, now there is no feral hog season, correct?
No.
You see them, you kill them.
You see them, you kill them.
And I mean, I guess that's the Alabama eradication plan. This is kill them on site.
That would be the only way to kill them now is to kill them on site.
And I get what you're saying about the market for them drying up because of that.
Yes.
But at the same time, there is a reason why we don't want someone who may not be, I mean, just sort of a rogue, collecting these things, because they're dangerous animals.
Yes.
And I don't know. I mean, some people in some areas may be okay with this, but you may live next to somebody, right, who not as experienced with this animal and captures them, collects them, and as you said, I mean, apparently they multiply like gremlins.
They do. 2.5 liters a year.
Yeah, pour water on them, they just start popping out.
They're big rats is what they are.
So that would be my concern. Is somebody who traps them, puts them in their backyard, and it gets to a point where they're out of control, they can't control them, and now we got a problem in another area.
And the rural area, they won't be out of control where they can't control them. They put a bullet in their head.
True. I mean, I do that. And also, as an aside, my entire family is from Washington County, my mom's side. So, I know all about that Washington County living. It's probably a verse of the Green Acres song. But at the same time, it makes me very uncomfortable with anybody being able to trap this animal and then transport it and then ultimately creating a bigger problem somewhere else. But I do understand what you're saying about the market for them and then also motivating the rest of us to get involved in trying to eradicate this problem. So I do understand it. I guess what makes me uncomfortable is the fact that
they're only dangerous when you corner them. I mean, you got them in a pen, they're dangerous. If you get over in there, the boar is. The rest of them, they might knock you down. They're not going to kill you. You get in a small pen with a wild boar and approach him, he's going to try to cut you. That's all there is to it. I lose about 2 dogs a year to wild boars cutting them and killing them when they're trying to catch them.
Man, I hear you.
But they don't. You've not read where they attacked anybody. Wild hogs are not going to attack somebody unless you cornered him. You corner him, he's going to fight.
And that's what we're encouraging folks to do. Corner them so we can catch them.
They're not going to take a wild boar and put him in a pen anyway. They're going to shoot him before they ever load him up. Nobody's going to buy a wild boar. Nobody's going to butcher a stinking wild boar.
All right.
Representative Bledsoe.
With that, I'd like to carry it over.
Okay. Representative Bledsoe, do you want to speak?
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I just want to make a comment. Like, I feel like, to me, some bills naturally fit in this committee, of course, when we talk about legal aspects, which is why this is here, because we are altering or changing the law. But I was always taught, if you're not an authority on something or have no knowledge, then, where can I weigh in? And I'm a city boy. I grew up here in Montgomery and have no idea what we're talking about, other than we're trying to alter.
You will. Give it 10 more years and they're going to be in your subdivision.
So I need to go ahead and get prepared for the invasion. I guess my point is, Mr. Chairman, is like I feel like this topic, it has a lot of environmental and agricultural impacts that this committee, I don't think, I'm looking around, I don't think that we're uniquely prepared to deal with this. Would it be improper to make a recommendation that this bill is being heard in another committee, perhaps agricultural?
Ag and Forestry was where I would have thought it would have gone, but here we are.
Well, so you've made the motion, and we'll carry on, but maybe that's a better place for those discussions. Because I just feel like other than the education we had last week, which was largely no, I'm fearing the fate of your bill is going to be no, and I don't want to do that unfairly to you.
But the one thing you didn't hear from any of them, and I've never heard from one of them, is a solution to the problem. It's just no.
I'm going to give Representative Rogers.
I agree with what Representative Bedsole said, but I had a thought from what you're saying and from what we've heard last week. If you were allowed to transport them, so let's say, I know you're saying no one would allow them to breed, but they breed so rapidly.
Yes.
So you've trapped them, then they start breeding, and now you're breeding feral hogs. Maybe because their concern was you might have all these pigs out on the road being transported. What if you allowed someone to get a trapper's license?
They already do. They buy a trapper's license now.
But you can't get a trapper's license for feral pigs, though.
Yes, you can. You just get a trapper's license. You can trap anything that walks.
So you could get a trapper's license now to trap them, and there's nothing illegal about trapping it, but you have to kill it on site.
You can trap them. You just can't transport them.
Yeah, you have to kill it on site, though, if you trap it.
Correct.
And so what would stop someone from trapping it, killing it, and then hauling it somewhere to get butchered?
Nobody's going to take a dead pig to butcher. Not in mass numbers like at the stockyard where Brian Bacon shows up.
Right, but I'm just thinking about if I kill a deer, I can take the deer.
And you can, individually, you can take them to some of these places that process deer. They'll process a pig.
Right.
I think we've had a lot of discussion, and I'm going to carry this over.
Thank you.
HB 437. I'm not going to do that today.
Mr. Chairman and members, thank you for the opportunity. House Bill 437 really is to amend the Alabama Boards of Pardon and Parole in the way they make decisions about granting, denying, or revoking a parole. This bill would give the board more explicit discretion to consider as it looks at the totality of the circumstances when reviewing parole violation. And it would also adjust the proceedings and the penalties related to parole violation, including when a parole can be revoked and how sanctions can be imposed. This bill was brought, the fact that I'm standing before you is this bill was brought to my attention based on a case that occurred within my city and where an individual who had been out on parole was put in jail, and then his parole was revoked based on the activities that occurred. And the idea, the concern was this individual had been doing well, had a trucking company, et cetera, doing very well. And because of the way the law was written and the parole being revoked, he's back for life in prison. So generally that's the gist. I hope you've read it. If you've looked at the bill, you will see on page 3, the adjustments or changes that are there listed lines 75 through 78. And if you look on page 4, lines 93 through 96, 101 through 112. Generally, the basics, and then on page 5, you will see the changes there. And at the top of page 6, on page 8, you will see changes at the top, starting at page number 200 through 209. And in the process of before bringing this bill before you, I have had the opportunity to meet with members of Appleseed, the AG's office, the DA's office, Pardons and Parole, And I extended an invitation to Vocal as well. She was unable to attend that meeting on yesterday. And this bill is also being carried by Senator Sam Gavan in the Senate. And I would ask those individuals, if you would allow, Mr. Chair, there are some individuals that may have some reactions to this bill in terms of what their positions are, and with the permission of the chair, I would ask that they would have an opportunity to speak to their concerns.
Okay, I'm gonna let the committee members ask some questions first. Representative McKinney.
For bringing this bill, I did read about the young man that was incarcerated and his parole was revoked. And this happens so often. I see this a lot where people are out and over minor incidents, they're redirected back into the system and for longer periods of time. And so I thank you for this piece of legislation.
Thank you.
Representative Faulkner.
Yeah, Representative Hall, did I hear you say that the DA's and the AG's office are good with this bill?
I didn't tell you anybody was good with the bill. I'm good with the bill. But
well, I would hope so.
No, we started a discussion on yesterday, and in order to make sure everybody has an opportunity to hear all of the concerns, especially this committee, there were some questions that were raised that I think it would be important for you to hear. And my reason for that process is because what I feel is that this bill is still tough on crime, but it is merciful. It gives an opportunity. Okay. And those individuals that you're asking about, I think if the chair would allow, they will have an opportunity to express their concerns. But there have been meetings within the groups of individuals that I've mentioned.
Okay.
Are addressing some of the concerns.
Well, and I believe I was told we weren't voting on the bill today. And but that was, and I can obviously find that out, but I was truly asking whether or not the DA's and the AG's office had come to where they were neutral on the bill.
I have not received that response.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to allow somebody to speak, but just limit it to 3 minutes.
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Fuquay. I'm the legal director at Alabama Appleseed. Would just like to start with thanking Representative Hall and Senator Gavan for being champions on this issue and sponsoring the two versions of the bill. We conducted a lot of research over the past year, and we came across a lot of troubling cases that really fit into two categories. You have one instance where someone is out on parole for a long time, doing very well, contributing member of society, and they may have a minor infraction. It may be a technical violation. It might be a missed class that they were required to go to. And due to the current law, the board does not have the discretion with certain offenses to consider the nature of that offense, and they have to essentially, whether it be a very serious new felony or it be a missed class, the board's interpretation of the current statute is they have to revoke those people. And we also have found situations where people have been accused of new offenses that were ultimately either they were acquitted or dismissed, and due to that new arrest, even without a new criminal charge, they do have to be revoked under the current statute, according to Director Ward, and we appreciate his input on this bill and his team's input on the bill and their input on the current statute and how that governs their ability to look at things on a case-by-case basis. So essentially, what we are trying to do and what we support about this bill is it's going to allow the parole board to not take a one-size-fits-all approach to revocations, and they're going to be able to do a better job, in our opinion, of pursuing the goals of public safety and the fair administration of justice by taking a careful look at the nature of a parole violation and considering whether they are satisfied that the person committed the new offense as opposed to just a new arrest, which would now trigger a revocation. And then another important aspect of this bill is that on the back end, if someone is revoked based on a new charge, and then if that charge is later dismissed or otherwise favorably resolved as a non-felony conviction, and we're currently in discussions over the exact terms of that language, but I believe what we are close to settling upon that the members of the committee will hopefully have in front of you soon would be basically a system where if the new charge is resolved favorably, the person would just become eligible for parole again. And then
Our time is up. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Mr. Representative Hall, did you say you did not want to vote on it today?
I do not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Representative Starnes.
Yes, I would just like to address this. We do have a mechanism with pardons and parole at this time if an offender is doing well. I had a couple or several parolees that were doing well and they got a new offense. Well, at that time, I would do a notice of parole violation. I send it up through my chain of command, and I'm able to monitor that case up till a decision with the court. So with this, we already have a mechanism. And I don't understand why we need to have another mechanism to release people because one reason is there's always, first of all, I'd like to know who says these were in good standing, the cases that I received, because I would have some that were very deceptive. I had a sex offender that would be in the gray area with just trying to have his kids or something else at his residence that he wasn't supposed to have, and I could never catch him, but I knew he was doing it. And then he finally got busted 20 years later. So there are mechanisms if truly a parolee is in good standing with that officer. He has that discretion to do notice of a parole violation and send that up.
So we spent a few minutes discussing those types of issues that you talked about, and according to the Director of Paroles and Pardons and Parole, that their administrative law and the way the bill is written, and I'll let the gentleman from Appleseed speak as well, that was not indeed the case. So there has been conversations relative to making sure sexual abuse is a part of the area that you raised as being included in the bill.
Okay, I believe you did not want to vote on today, so the bill is carried over. That completes the agenda for today, and the meeting is adjourned. Tillman is carried over. Yep. That concludes the meeting.